Good evening, everyone. Those on Zooms and here at the center, welcome to this Thursday lecture. And just a few announcements before we begin the program. Here at the center, we have from Monday through Thursday, the Sanctuary of Peace. This is an in-person sessions. During this time, you can come to the center from 6 to 6:30 and sit in meditation in our meditation room. From 6 to 6:30, there will be some music playing and also some commentary to help you concentrate. Also, every day from Monday through Friday, we have a power boost. It's a lunchtime meditation from 12 noon to 12:15. This meditation happens only on Facebook, or you can connect to YouTube Live. And saying that these programs, tonight's programs is being recorded and will be available on Facebook and YouTube, so you can watch and listen to it again. And for those who are here at the center, it will be good if you want to, whenever you want to share or ask a question, to use the mic so those who are on Zoom can listen to it. Okay, so for tonight's topic, it's in the presence of endings. We apologize. We have announced different speaker, but she won't be able to make it this evening. And so Sister Ines will be sharing with us and in the presence of endings. We know we all have that one who we love, who care for us, who had left this plane, and our feelings usually are no good. And that's the time, not only when we need that strength, spiritual strength, but also at that time we need to give our support to those who are in the process of leaving their body. And being strong and spiritually strong is the best way we can give our support to them and also for ourselves. So Sister Ines will be sharing about this topic, and she will be sharing some tools to use and become strong and make others strong. Sister Ines?
Hello and good evening. We have some friends here at the center, and warm welcome also to everyone on Zoom. So, as Jose was mentioning, there's a little bit of change, and as you can see for tonight's program, so Anjali couldn't make it for tonight. It was her idea, her wish from her heart to share with you her experiences in the context of giving company those who have to face death or loss. And so we will postpone that session. So she will share with you on another Thursday on that specific topic. And sorry, Jose, if I have to correct here. Since I really do not have a first-hand or hands-on experience in this area, I haven't been physically close to anyone who has been facing death or loss in that context. So because of that, I don't feel comfortable to speak with you or to you on this topic. but I can share a few
Sorry to
thoughts.
interrupt. Can you put mic closer? Could you put mic? Oh, thank you.
I can is this better? The sound is,
Yes.
yeah?
Yes.
So the thought was to share with you tonight some understanding, some insights that I gained on my spiritual journey, and to share with you on the aspect, on the topic of, or what we call death or dying, from a different perspective, and that is from the spiritual perspective. We are human beings, right? Is actually a very meaningful term, human being. We mostly relate to the human aspect. We don't have that much, maybe, clarity, understanding, experience, or even knowledge about the being. So there's a human aspect and there's a being, and they're together. They work together very closely. So when we look from the human perspective at life, at others, then what we are facing, what we are seeing and confronted with is constant change. And the aging of the physical body is, something that we all experience sooner or later. And the aging of the body reflects or is a good proof, very evident sign that there is constant change happening. And there's always a change from new to old, from full, complete to depletion. Because at the physical level, that's where the law of entropy is working or is applied. That means energy is used and it doesn't get replenished. So there is consistently change that applies to the material world. And one of the greatest fears human beings have is the fear of death, actually, but also a lot of resistance and the great fear of change. We get very easily comfortable and not so easily, we don't easily come out or want to come out of any comfort zone. We like to plan, we like to have everything fixed, knowing what I can expect and the least change possible. Is this correct? So anything that changes or that is different from the way I expect it or assume or anticipate is mostly by many of us perceived as a kind of threat, and it creates an anxiety within. And of course, that whole aspect of dying is an aspect of life that many don't deal with, think about at all, because it's uncomfortable, right? And we don't really like it. We push it aside. But on the spiritual journey, we are actually practicing to die every day. So what does that mean? One practice that we have is called go into the experience of being bodiless. So if there's an experience like going beyond or transcending the physical, then what is it that remains? Who is going beyond? Who is transcending the physical? And that's where it comes to the being. So we understand that the physical body is living. Physical body is biologically alive. If the being is not in the body becomes a corpse. The body, the persona, the being, the one we know, we knew, the one we love, is not present anymore, but there's a lifeless body. But you will recognize or notice when you look at the dead body that the one you knew, the one you love, is not present anymore, even though the body is there. So what does that mean? So we want to explore this evening that kind of aspect that makes up life, the aspect of the being, the aspect of consciousness. There is a lot of, in different fields, a lot of interest to explore for different reasons, to explore immortality. Life beyond death, life that always exists, a life without death. Now, when we look at the being that lives in this body or resides in this body, that being is a being of consciousness, is a being, is a metaphysical being. Consciousness is very distinct, different from physical energy, from matter, the elements. When there is a dead body, the dead body doesn't speak, doesn't feel anymore, right? So the being that was in the body is not present anymore, and it is the being in the body that experiences everything, that feels, that thinks. To think, to feel, to create memories are all aspects that belong to the being, and we refer to that being soul. And it is the soul, the living being, is actually a being of spiritual light, a being of light and might, a being that has the ability to think, that has the ability to feel, the ability to reason, the ability to understand, the ability to discern, discriminate between what is right and wrong, good and bad, to make decisions, the power to choose. Conscience is an aspect of the being part. It's part of consciousness. And that being is self-aware. I, the being, I'm aware of my own existence. Now, the more I know about that being, the more I know about myself, actually, because who is that being of consciousness, that being of light? This is who I am. And that is when we, many of you probably familiar with that whole concept of body and soul. So the big question, the deep eternal question of who am I? So we identify with the being part that has a body, that uses the body. The being uses the body to express itself, to communicate with others around us. Yeah? The being gives life to the body. Now, I mentioned that matter, physical body, is biologically alive. Now, I used to work in a laboratory, and then we had to, isolate. We got blood, human blood, and then we isolated cells or human tissue to make different experiments. And if you keep it under the appropriate condition, human parts, the blood, tissue parts of the body, they are still alive. They're biologically alive, but they don't speak, they don't feel. So the one who speaks, who feels, who experiences everything is actually the being that lives in that body and animates the body. So this is a totally different concept compared to when we look at the self just from the human perspective. But we all know that consciousness exists. Many know and speak about the mind. But actually, and these are ideas that I'm sharing with you tonight, right? And it's maybe a little bit of an invitation to you to explore and reflect on this and see if you can use these ideas for yourself to create experiences for yourself that are more pleasant, experiences that are uplifting, that connect you to your original truth, to your original identity, and allow you to emerge an innate pool of goodness. So when we look from the being part, from the aspect of the being, from the perspective of the being, then I am that being, and I, that being, I'm in this body, right? And one characteristic of the being is, in contrast to physical energy, the being of light is immortal. Consciousness is immortal and imperishable. So how do we transcend or go beyond certain physical experiences and connect to even to the divine, to have a divine experience? we would have to transcend the physical, meaning to go beyond or rise above my physical sense perception. Because all the experiences that we have in life, they are all connected to our physical sense organs. I see something and I start to think. I hear something, I start to have certain thoughts. The same with taste, smell, touch, the 5 main physical sense organs through which belong to the body, through which I receive information. But if I don't know about the being, the aspect of the being, if I only rely on my physical sense perception, that is when we start to experience the humanness. And the humanness, sometimes we use that expression, I'm just human, as an excuse or justification for certain weaknesses, for certain shortcomings. And it's actually true. If I just live in the human dimension, in the physical, perishable dimension, at the physical level, where there is constant change, each one and everyone is different. You will always find someone who has more, who has something different, whether it's in terms of money, possessions, connections, friends. Our bodies, just when you look at our bodies, how many problems and violence is in the world just because of differences of our bodies. There are beliefs, judgments in terms of how we look. And so when we only live in a dimension and relate and believe only what I can see, what I can feel, what I can hear, we get totally disconnected from our spiritual identity. And that is where we then start to search, where we create that belief that I need you, I need this, I need that, I need to have this or that in order to be happy. So we become needy and we start to take from the physical world. We want to experience, we have relationships because we want to experience, we don't want to be alone. We want to experience safety. For different reasons, we have relationships, right? And whatever we do in life is to experience happiness, to experience peace. But how many do experience inner peace? Nowadays, not even two people can easily or peacefully live together anymore. And on the physical level, where there is constant change, we start to experience anxiety, we experience insecurity, and all our human tendencies that we have developed, come into expression into our behavior. And so that creates problems. When we now move over or switch to the being part, that is where we start to understand that actually peace is a quality that everyone wants to experience more and more in life again. Peace is actually part of the being. We are peaceful beings. We are beings. When we started our journey, we are complete. We are full and complete within our own self. And we are on a journey through time. Time exists where there is change, right? This is here in this physical world, in these physical bodies. So the being goes into a body. I live my life in this body, and then I move on. I'm on a journey. So in other words, the being never dies. What dies is the body. But I, the being, I keep moving on. I take rebirth in a different body. And I live my life then through that body. There are many stories, many who have experienced near-death experiences. You may have heard some. And they have all very similar experiences where they understand, they feel, they realize that they exist without a body. Many of them even see their own physical body separate from themselves. I was listening yesterday to one of those experiences that her name is Dr. Ingrid Honker. She has been interviewed and was in conversation with Sister Jayanti. And a very beautiful experience is that she shared. Now, these kind of out-of-body experiences, we can also have through meditation. And this is what I mean when I mentioned earlier that through the practice of meditation, we study spiritual knowledge about the being. The more I start to understand the being, the more I understand my own self of who I am. And then I use meditation. Meditation is a tool where we want to experience, feel of what I learn. So meditation is an inward journey where you then connect to yourself and where you then practice to move from a level of understanding and knowing into a state of feeling, experience, and realization, where you then eventually realize, wow, yes, it's true. I am a living being, a being of light, distinct from the body. So there are two entities, the entity of the body, the physical body, and the soul, the living being. It takes some practice to actually be able to experience the self, to be free from the body, but not because we suppress, but it's a disengagement where I take my thoughts away from the physical body, from the physical sense perception, and I start to focus and concentrate on thoughts that I create as they relate to the being. So I create thoughts of the being, that I am that being of light, that I am immortal. And I take that into depth. I start to focus on it, concentrate on it. It's like you look at that idea, you look at that thought, you hold it in your awareness, and you start to kind of feel it. Every thought activates or triggers a feeling. If we have enough practice, we can catch that subtle feeling that is triggered or activated by that thought that I am immortal. I am an immortal being of light. And then you kind of start embodying that feeling. You become it, you feel it, and ultimately there is the realization of who you are. Yes, it does take practice, but it's a very rewarding practice, because on the journey inward, connecting to yourself as a spiritual being versus being the body, you will, how to say, whatever has been suppressed, whatever fears are there, you will come to see them. You will become aware of what has been suppressed, but that is actually a good thing, because I can let go of it. And I can increase, by doing so, I increase the quality of my life. And in addition, I become free of the fear of dying. Actually, I can come out completely from that whole belief that I die. I can never ever die. And so never ever anyone gets lost, because consciousness, the being, the persona, the personality is all part of the being, and that being is immortal.
So it's also when there is someone that is close to you and he's about to leave to die. There is these thoughts that I use in meditation, and that it's the being is eternal. This is someone who we share good times. We share. I was dependent on him or her, but I know that it is the time for them to move forward, to go and to play another part, to go into a new journey. So thinking in this way for myself, there is no suffering either. And my mind is light and clear, because the understanding that the being is eternal and that is not on my power to keep that person close to me. So I let it go. And there is always the thought that that soul exists somewhere else, playing a different part, giving happiness to others. That's my experience in my meditations, and also my experiences um, in of seeing others leave their bodies.
Very nice, thank you. Yeah. So there's a lot of benefit when we practice considering the self to be that living being, that being of light, being of consciousness, I, the soul, and so everyone else also is that being, right? And if I'm facing loss, a dear one is going, then it's like the train is like the train of life. There at every station, some come on, some leave the train. Right? So if we look at life more like it in this way, then and no one can disappear, no one ever gets lost. So that soul, that being is still around, but in a different body. Not only that, but like Jose mentioned, the thoughts, the good wishes, the pure feelings, feelings of love that we have for that being, still reaching that one. And that's why also is actually very important if we are with someone who is about to depart or to move on, to help them, to support them on their journey, instead of holding them back. If the more we are able to live in our own inner truth, the more we are connected to our own true self, and there's that self-respect, we are able to share happiness with others. We are able to have pure love for them. And when I can share, when I can give at that level, I don't need, I don't want, but I'm able to give, to share. And that is something that becomes a big support to someone who is on the journey onward. Do you understand? In contrast, if I cry, if I don't want that that one goes, that holding on is like I am not allowing that one to move on, but that being has to move on. It's part of the journey, and at one point I will have to move on. So our thoughts and feelings for each other are very, very important. And the more clarity we have of who we are, the more I can bring benefit to myself, the more my relationship with my own self and with my body becomes healthier. And also my relationship with others becomes so much more beneficial. And we are able to be of support. We are able to help at a much more profound way than just physically. Our good wishes, our pure feelings for someone are they are a great support for that one when they are in the body, of course, but then also certainly when they are about to move on. And when you look from the soul perspective, from the perspective of the being, then here I am leaving, or I am about to leave this physical costume. And very soon after I have left, I'm already entering the womb, the fetus in the womb. And few months after I come out as a baby and I'm welcomed, and there's a lot of happiness because a baby is born. The body is very little, but the soul just left a grown-up body. So one aspect that I also cherish a great deal is the moment we look from the perspective of the being. Now, if you are in a baby body or in a grown-up body, there is respect. There is respect, and that brings a lot of value in the relationship. And it starts with my own self. And one thing before I close, when we connect, think about the being, I, the being of light, I am immortal. And actually, I did mention it earlier, but I want to emphasize that the being, every being, is innately good. No one is bad. But yes, on our journey through time, many things happen. We forget, we get influenced, we become weak. And each one has to play their own part. If I know, if I can relate, if it resonates with me that ultimately everyone is good, then we are able to deal with that negativity, with the problems, with the horror that is being displayed in the world by our spiritual brothers. We are able to deal with it in a much healthier and more positive manner. Because otherwise, seeing some violence, we ourselves coming down to the lowest level. We get upset, we get angry, we start to curse. We don't have good feelings anymore. And yes, at the physical level, there's a lot of violence being played out. But if I understand that there is also a being in that body, and at this time that being is in complete ignorance, is playing out a part that is very bad. Now, first of all, be happy that you are not the one who has to play that part. And secondly, you have to have mercy. And with this kind of approach, we will be able to deal with everything that is negative or violent in a much healthier way. So in order for me to stay positive, I have to connect to something good, to something positive, right? And many times at the physical level, there is really nothing positive. When you look at certain things that going on in the world. But when you transcend, when you go beyond the obvious, the material, the physical appearance and the actions, what is being played out, and connect to the subtle, to the invisible, then we are connecting to a bigger picture, and we start to understand, we are all on a journey. And ultimately, it is only goodness that will prevail. It is goodness that is eternal. So somewhere or another, all our negative, wrong actions, they have to be settled. They have to be, I have to, in one or another way, I will have to pay for it. Because if the being is eternal, I will have to return back to my own light. And that is true for everyone. And I think that's where, God, the divine, comes into the play. God sees every being as his child and has unlimited love and mercy and forgiveness, and allows us, through his own power and pure unlimited love, to actually return back to our innate goodness. So when you look from the perspective of the being, there is continuity of existence, and there is not only continuity, but it is the light continues, the goodness continues. And yes, before we are able to return back collectively to a world and state of being where everyone is peaceful, we may have to first experience great loss. Just ask yourself or check yourself, how quickly are we learning? How quickly are we willing to see our own mistakes, forgive, forget, and learn how to do better? So once that interest is there, I think we are able to quickly return and reconnect to a potential that is already there within my own self. And ultimately, it is God who will help me to reconnect to that innate pool of peace and love, forgiveness, acceptance, even happiness. Okay, so I'll stop here and see if anyone has a question or wants to make a comment. He will give you the microphone. Because we have also on Zoom.
No, it's okay.
Some participants.
Thank you. I found it interesting. Oh, yeah, sorry. I found it interesting. I mean, I know they giving energy back and forth. Usually, when we pass off each other's energy, we're affecting each other, and we're all energy. That's what I'm saying. I mean, as you're saying, it's all. I mean, I just found it to be really interesting. I mean, that. I mean, yeah. Sorry. But it's yeah, I'm freezing up, sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. It's no problem. And for example, through the practice of meditation, of course, there needs to be some understanding, some knowledge, some information, few things that I've shared today. But if you take that into meditation, you literally can start to experience yourself as that being of goodness.
Letting go of things, letting go of
Exactly.
negative energy and allowing a positive energy to come in, so therefore you have a better day or have a better life and bring up your family and your friends too.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's very beautiful what you are saying, because if I know about myself from the perspective of a being, and I have that faith that I am a being of goodness.
Yes.
Ultimately or originally, I am that being of goodness. Yes, many things happen, many things have changed, but deep, when you look deep into your heart, we all will say, no, there is goodness, right?
Mhm.
And so there needs to be some education, some guidance in order to how to maneuver myself that I can move back, reconnect to that eternal goodness within myself.
Yeah.
And practically speaking, this means every moment in my life, every day, every moment, I have a choice.
Mhm.
Do I choose to remember who I am and draw from that understanding and make that effort to come from a place of peace, from a place of love, to make that choice of, yes, I can be happy.
Because we're hurting ourselves, really, if we're not going towards the peaceful side. And we're meant to be good, like you said, we're meant to be good creatures, good
Yeah,
people. And the more we turn away from it, the more it affects us inside, outside, and physically also, because it affects our heart, affects how long we do live our lives.
exactly. So our emotional state of being affects our life, the lifespan of the body, the health of the body. And the more we connect to our innate goodness, the more we live our life from that place within and emerge that. So I have the choice to let go of what happened yesterday. That's what you were saying before.
Absolutely, yes.
And that's very powerful, because whatever happened is over, it's finished, it doesn't exist anymore. So yes, we all make mistakes, we all have had certain life experiences, but every moment I have a choice, and I will have to forgive myself many times, because even on the journey where I learn and I want to express that goodness, there will be times where it doesn't happen. But then if I use acceptance, if I use patience, if I am willing to learn, I will let go, I will forget, and just keep moving on.
Grow.
And we grow in this way, exactly. And we will ultimately then reach our destination, and destination also in terms of experiencing ourselves in a more authentic, truthful manner. We are, when we start our journey, we are full and complete, full of light, and we don't lack anything. And that is a very powerful thing to believe in that, because if that is really true, I can return back to that, and I can use that. I can use my original state of being or my eternal state of being as my reference point of where I want to move, what I want to become again. So I shed, I let go what does not work, what is not healthy, and I choose what is healthy, what is beneficial for the self and for others. And of course, there's a lot of influence that we have on each other. Okay. Anyone wants to share a thought? Anyone from Zoom wants to share a thought? Otherwise, let us have a short meditation. So we sit relaxed. And I prepare myself to go or to turn within. But before we do so, take notice of something, an object in your room, the space you are in. Take note of maybe the light, smell. This is just to become aware and more present in the present moment. Connect to your body and be aware, become aware, conscious about the breathing of the body. Take a conscious breath in and exhale. I'm connected, aware, and I experience the physical world. But as we turn inward, I consciously choose to temporarily let go of the physical sense perception, and I create that thought that in this body there is a living being, a being of light, a being of love and peace. And I am that being. And I, the being of light, the soul, I reside just behind the eyes. I'm conscious and self-aware of my own existence. I am an eternal being of light, immortal, imperishable. I, the soul, I always exist. I was me, and I will be me. I can never be anyone else, and no one can ever become me. I, the being, I have my own unique identity. I am unique and very special. Just breathe into that thought, that idea of being unique, special, and I always exist. I reside in this body, and for a long time I have believed that I am this body. But I started to awaken, become aware that my true identity is the identity of the soul, the being that uses the body. And when I think about myself as this living being of light, I also remember my innate qualities of peace, love, joy, wisdom, and strength. And in my original state of being, I'm the embodiment of all these qualities. I have a right to experience peace, to be loved, to be happy. To increase those experiences in life and beyond. I simply turn within. I remember my highest potential, my innate goodness. This awareness then allows me to make different choices, moment by moment. Om Shanti.